Hi, my name is Lexi Goodall, and this is my persuasive speech. Have you ever wanted the next big thing that's going to come out of the market? Well, in today's society, everybody wants what they can't have. And this is because everybody wants that exclusive item only a few people are going to get. Everybody wants this item is because we perceive it as designer or something that's very upscale. And we want these items because it makes us feel good about ourselves. But not only that, we like the way people perceive us when we have these items. Well, what if there's more? What if there's more than just the fancy cars, the clothes, the shoes, the handbags? What if the next big thing was designer babies? Would you want a designer baby? Now you're probably asking yourself the question, what is a designer baby? Before I can answer that, I have to explain to you what CRISPR is and why we should be using CRISPR to create these designer babies. Well, we should be using CRISPR to create these designer babies because it can boost our economy. Let me give you a little background so you understand what CRISPR is. In 1987, CRISPR was discovered, and it was actually discovered in bacteria. And CRISPR stands for Clustered Regulatory Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeat. A part of Discar's 2018 article, What is CRISPR, states what it is the best. She says that the genes of various organisms encode a series of messages and instructions within the DNA sequence. Genome editing involves changing these sequences, thereby changing the messages. This can be done by inserting a cut or break in the DNA and tricking a cell's natural DNA repair mechanism, introducing the changes one wants. So think of CRISPR as a giant pair of scissors that goes in to a specific section of DNA and cuts it out, and then we replace it with something else or another line of DNA. Well, CRISPR wasn't always used to edit genes. It wasn't discovered to edit genes until 2010 when these two lovely ladies, Emmanuel Carpenter and Jennifer Dugan, discovered that it was able to do this. And their discovery revolutionized the science in the scientific community. And they actually won the 2020 Chemistry Nobel Prize for their discovery. According to the 2019 AdGene website on CRISPR history, CRISPR tech development has occurred at a truly astonishing pace, with work directed towards increasing on-target editing rates and decreasing off-target editing rates. Well, the reason that CRISPR can help boost our economy is because it's so versatile. Within the last 5 years, it has actually boomed. This is because it can be used in any field. It can be used in the farming or livestock industry. It can be used in pharmaceuticals and the drug industry. It can also be used in plants and biofuels, and that discovering new in that. It can also be used in bacteria and viruses. Well, since it can be used in so many different industries, it can create new jobs and new scientific discoveries and other aspects. This is because it can create new areas of study, because we're always trying to figure out how other ways we can apply it. And this would also require new technology, because the technology isn't always going to stay the same, and we need to advance it. Another reason that it can boost our economy is because it's already in use. It may think of oh, gene editing, that's so crazy, but we're actually already using it, and we're using it in our crops. That's what GMOs are, genetically modified organisms. In 2015, the book Gmo Sapiens, The Life-Changing Science of Designer Babies by Paul Keenford, he states, the focus of CalGene was to genetically engineer plants to improve them and advance science. Well, CalGene was a biotech company that actually tried to genetically modify the plants and animals so that they reproduce at a faster rate. They were able to do this because of the technological advances, but we are still continuing to advance these technologies today. It can also help because you can also use it in the health industry. And that is such a big industry with so many different ways we could use it. In less than a decade, researchers have used Cas9 or CRISPR to develop genome editing, crops, insects, genetic models, and experimental human therapies. Clinical trials are underway to use technique to treat sickle cell anemia, hereditary blindness, and cancer. Other ways we're also using CRISPR in the health industry is we are using it on pigs to help them be organ donors so that we don't reject their organs, and dogs to help cure muscle dystrophy, and human embryos to create designer babies. And like I mentioned before, we're also using it in our crops. Richard O'Haines, a biologist of Massachusetts Institution of Technology stated virtually every lab in the world is using CRISPR. It's a way of doing things. So as we continue to advance our knowledge on the ways that we can use CRISPR, we can also advance our ways of study and our research. So this can open up new jobs for new researchers, new scientists, but also can create actually new industries altogether, depending on what we use it for. But a lot of countries don't want to advance. This is because a lot of them have already put restrictions and bans on the use of CRISPR. But a lot of them actually put it on editing human embryos. That's because Lauren F. Feedman wrote in a 2015 article titled, "These are the countries where it's illegal to edit human embryos." She states that the country's completely regular environment that's clear on the map above means that there's plenty of loopholes, even in countries that have tried to anticipate the coming wave of ethically questionable experiments. And this is because it was caused by a Chinese man or scientist tried to use CRISPR on a human embryo, and that caused a lot of questions because that was the first of its kind. So not only can CRISPR be used to boost our economy, but it can create healthier parents. Well, in order to create a designer baby, the parent must go through IVF or in vitro fertilization. This is where they take the mother's egg and the sperm of a male, and they fertilize the egg in a petri dish, or what we like to call test tube babies. In Jean Sager's 2021 article, "What are the 2020 fertility statistics I need to know about?" she mentions that 1 in 8 couples reportedly struggle to conceive, and a third of Americans have either sought fertility treatment or know someone who has. More than 1 million babies have been born via IVF in the United States as of 2014. And it can also make parents happier because they can customize their baby. So a lot of parents dream about what their ideal baby is, what their hair color is going to be, what they're going to look like, what their eye color is going to be, some attributes they want them to have. But what if this is possible? According to the 2021 updated New Hope Fertility website, a designer baby, in its simplest definition, a designer baby is an embryo that has been genetically modified for the sake of producing a child with specific traits. In some cases, unfavorable characteristics may be removed and favorable characteristics may be added. What this means is we can actually go in and change the hair color to what a parent wants, the eye color to what it wants, because we know where these are on the DNA strands. But what if they could also make an ideal personality? Because since we have to know where all of this is at, then they could possibly know these not only physical, but like personality traits. They could probably make them a specific height or a height range. They could also probably make them have the personality traits a parent wants. Funny, athletic, smart. But not only can CRISPR used to create designer babies to boost our economy, make parents happier, but also create a healthier society. This is what it was actually intended to be used for. They wanted it to be used for good and help society. In Heidi Linford and Ewan Calloway's 2020 article, "Pioneers of Revolutionary CRISPR Gene Editing Win Chemistry Nobel," they say CRISPR has countless application researchers hope to use to alter human genes to eliminate disorders, create hardier plants, and wipe out pathogens and more. And that is exactly what scientists have been trying to do. Perrine Whippard Shadford, a biophysical chemist and member of Nobel Chemistry Committee at the prize announcement, she states, "The genetic scissors were discovered just 8 years ago but have already benefited humankind greatly." And this is because there is so many different applications for it. It can also create a healthier society because it can get rid of genetic disorders. In the 2016 article, "Designer Babies of the Obstetrics and Gynecology and Reproductive Medical Journal" by Ronald T.K. Pang and P.C. Ho, a majority of designer babies are created to prevent inheriting genetics through the separation of disease-free embryos or pre-plantation genetic diagnosis, or PGD. So, what they're talking about is they can try and get rid of rare genetic disorders such as Huntington's disease, which is seen over here, which can affect the brain. And people can live through this, but it really affects them, and they rely on other people. And then they can also try and get rid of Tay-Sachs disease. And that is a neurological disease that people are born with, and sadly, a lot of the people born with it don't make it because it affects them so much. But it can also help with autism and Down syndrome. And the 2019 article titled "The Combination of Genetics and Natotech for Down Syndrome Modification, a Potential Hypothesis and Review of the Literacy" by Alriz Tafazzoli states that Down syndrome is one of the most famous and prevalent genetic disorders in medical history. The frequency is 1 in every 600 individuals in different populations. So every 1 to 600 individuals in every different population has Down syndrome. And there are actually 3 different types of Down syndrome. There's 21 trisomy, which is the most famous, and which is 95% of people have. This is on the 21st chromosome. There's an extra one. And then there's translocation, and this is when there's healthy cells, but then there's also the other cells, and they mix together. And then there's the third one, mascuromy, and that's when there's multiple, as seen in the picture. So autism. It can also help autism because we're working on using CRISPR as a gene therapy. Studies of mice who have form of Fragile X syndrome, a genetic defect also found in humans, have been identified as a genetic cause of autism, has successfully used CRISPR tech to reduce repetitive behaviors according to the 2021 How CRISPR Will Affect Autism by Sprout. So we may think that using CRISPR is something such far in the future, but it can actually be used to help create a healthier society by getting rid of these genetic diseases and pre-existing diseases. But it's not a thing of the future. We're using it in mice, but we've also used it in humans already. In 2018, Chinese biophysicist He Jikui announced that twin girls had been born from embryos he and colleagues edited using CRISPR. And these are actually the 2 twin girls that were born, and this is the scientist that actually genetically modified these children. So CRISPR is no longer a thing of the future. It is here, and we are using it, and it can be such revolutionary. So CRISPR can be used to create designer babies because it can it can boost our economy. It can help create new jobs, new industries, and even advance our technology. It can be used to create happier parents because these parents can now, quote unquote, customize their children or what they want in a child. But it can also help create a healthier society because it can help get rid of these genetic diseases, and it can also help with cancer since we know it has a genetic link, and also potentially use it as therapy and help get rid of other things too. So, since CRISPR is no longer a thing of the future, and it is here, and we can use it now, would you, since you know the benefits of it, would you want a genetically modified baby or a CRISPR baby if it can help society so much? Thank you.